Alrighty, I'm going to show you what I do here for making feed rations for the cattle. Last year bought a grinder mixer and was doing like a TMR with it. I was mixing everything together and putting small squares in the grinder, and that worked. That was just slow. It didn't really work, I'll be honest. Excuse me. And basically, I mean, it worked long enough to try it out and see that, hey, I need to be doing a TMR instead of just feeding corn and hay is basically all I was doing. But after I plugged it up a couple times and then had just a mess to clean out, heck with this, so I sold it back in December, cleaned it up real good and sold it. And I'll show you about something else here, which I'll show you in a little bit. But first, I was going to show you what I do here to make my rations. I had a nutritionist make me up a ration. Look at these stupid cats in the house. They don't leave anything alone. Leave it alone. Give it back. And what I was doing with I had the nutritionist make up a ration plan for me, and that was great, except then once I got done with the hay that I was using, in several months, or a year later when I got another crop of corn in the wagons, it just I'd have to get it retested and have him reformulate it, and then I kind of wanted something to play around with where I can see what the most cost-effective feed is. And this Ted Kaler's been a great help this past year on formulating these rations and whatnot, and he kind of got me started on the TMR in the first place, and so that great help. And this is a program from Iowa State. It's just an Excel spreadsheet they put together, and it's got way more information than I'd ever use. They got all sorts of tabs down here and stuff. It's like they had a bunch of sample feeds in, and then when you get your feed, you get the samples you want, then you basically just enter your numbers, right over the top of theirs. Like I got first cutting 2019, and then I'm decided to sell that. I still got some of it, but I've sold some and decided it was cheaper. I had some third cutting that I baled way too wet because the rain was coming, and it molded on me a little bit, so I also bought some straw. You can see it sitting out there, and I'm blending it with the straw. It was kind of the most cost-effective thing to do here this year, just because I had that third cutting that I needed to get used up. So, So anyway, I can just enter the pounds per day delivered here, and then it does a bunch of calculations. The grow ration I'm using right now, or I'm going to mix up here in a little bit, the 50 megacal on the energy, and then you just scroll over here, and I mean they got everything. Someday I'd like to send off my feed samples and pay the 70 or 80 bucks a sample or whatever it is, and get all the micronutrients tested, just so I have something to enter in here. But the cost, you put your cost of your feed in and stuff per ton. Maintenance is 78, gains 50, 12.6% crude protein, and I mean it's just got a whole bunch of stuff, and that's just this here. You can scroll down, and this is just one tab. There's like 7 tabs to go through, but you just enter enter what it, you enter. They're averaging about 420 right now. I started out on a grow 46 to get them started, and now I'm gonna bump them up here to a grow 48. I mean a grow 50, because that worked really well last year for me, and we're going to try it there again. But, oh, and then over here there's feed intaking. Just like I'm going to mix a 2-ton ration today, 4,000 pounds, and it tells me how many pounds I need of each ingredient, and I will go in there and round those to the nearest 10 pounds, because the scale on my new piece of equipment is just set up in 10-pound increments. I could change it, but 10 pounds seems to work good. Another thing I wanted to get away from that grinder mixer, it was fine on the grow ration, but on the finish ration it was grinding the hay. You just had to grind it too much to get it to flow through the machine, and I think they almost were bloating a little bit just because they didn't quite get enough. Number one, I wasn't feeding enough hay in the ration, and number two, it was the hay that was there was just ground up too finely, because they gained really well on the grow ration last year, but then it kind of dropped off on the finish ration. Still was doing a lot better than what I was doing for, just feeding corn and hay, but it wasn't near as good as what it could have been had I formulated the ration a little different and had a little better machine. So this year we got a better machine, which I'll go outside and show you here in a minute. Well, here's what I got. Got a Penna 5600 vertical TMR mixer. Got it, I was looking and knew what I sold my grinder mixer. I knew what money I had to spend on one, and I for the money I was looking, it's kind of hard to find it. I was looking at stuff that was probably, wore out. That's just the way it is, because I'm not going to use it that much. And this one's getting close to needing a liner in it. But again, I'm only going to mix, a load every month or something, so, it'll last a while for me. I was looking at a J-Lore in Wisconsin and a Pat's in Michigan, and they were each, almost 400 miles away, and they were in the 300 to 400 cubic foot range, which is what I was wanting. And then this one come up for sale about 45 minutes from me, and I think it's 560 cubic foot, and I was thinking that's probably bigger than I want, because I wasn't even sure if I could get over that with the skid steer. And I called the guy, and he sent me some pictures, and it actually looked better than what I was expecting. And it was at a dealer, actually, a Coon Night dealer, and I went and looked at it, and then I was expecting, well, maybe I could take that rubber ring off the top and just squeeze over it barely with the skid steer, but went and looked at the thing, and realized it was a lot shorter than I thought it was, and I can actually get over that rubber ring and still having a couple inches to clear with the skid steer. So once I saw that, I was like, well, this is a no-brainer, because I think it was in better shape than the J-Lore and the Pats I was looking at. This is all stainless steel here, this conveyor. I think that was an option, because I've seen some other ones online, and that was just, it was just regular steel, so kind of nice it had that. 2-speed gearbox. It doesn't change the speed much. It probably only drops at 10 or 15% when you go to the low range, but right now I haven't needed it. I've just been in the high range, but if I get into some tough grass hay or something, I might need the low range, because I think it's rated at 85 horse is what it's rated for, and this is only an 80 horse tractor. 540 PTO. I've had to they backed into something here at one time and tore it up, and they tried to weld it. It cracked here, and so I went in and laid a piece on the inside and welded it back in. And when they did that, this thing was all bent. I had to cut and straighten it. But that's alright, I kind of know a guy for welding. Yeah, really not much to these machines. There's a 2-speed gearbox there, and then there's another PTO shaft underneath it. Goes to a right angle, big planetary set gearbox. Kind of looks like a front wheel assist hub on a tractor. It's inside there, and then I had to put a patch here also. It looks like they had a chunk of frozen something at some point, got in there probably and bent that out. So At some point it'll need a liner, but it'd be a couple years for me before I wear it out that quick. Change of fluid or change of oil in the gearbox, that is a job, just because it takes 75-90 synthetic oil. Draining it out is not the problem. Problem is, you dump it in here, it goes through this 3/8 hydraulic hose, runs into the gearbox, and the only vent on the gearbox is this little 1/8" plastic hose. So what I did on that, because at first I dumped like 2 quarts in and it took it like 12 hours to run down into the gearbox, like this ain't gonna work. I wrapped a bunch of tape around here to make that bigger, and I took this off and put it in the end of the shop vac, and that really helped, because then I was able to get, down to about, it'd take only about 15 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes for a quart to go in. No, it must have been quicker than that. It must have only been down to, because it only took me about 2 hours then to dump 18 quarts in it, and I think I need to add just a little more yet, but yeah. So if you guys ever got one want to change oil, put a vacuum cleaner on the breather hose. This is what it looks like. Again, at some point I'm going to probably have to go on along and flighting there to make it a little thicker, but it's got a little life left in it. It had one piece on the end of the plow wing there that was pointed like that, and it was just a straight cut deal, and I ground up a bale of straw at first just to polish the rust off of it, and that was kind of make clunking noise every time it'd go around, and so I cut that, and they had cut and welded that at some point, because it should have been turned around the other way, and then there's like a bolt-on attachment you can get for the back side of the plow wing there. So I cut that off and got rid of it, and then I put 2 pieces of angle iron, you can see on there, angled to try to keep the grain and stuff, since I'm just mixing a dry rash, and I figured it needed that to just keep the grain and stuff moving to the center of the mixer, to keep it going up. And it seemed to work all right. I only mixed a 1 ton ration. I need to mix 2 ton today, and see how that works, if I need to make any more modifications. Had decent knives on it. I had about 2/3 of the knives. I put 4 more of these highly aggressive knives, as they call them. These black ones here. They got bigger teeth on them, and they're a little longer than the original ones, which are these straight ones here. So I think if they ever wear out, or the rest of them at some point when they wear out, I'll just probably put all these highly aggressive ones on. I don't really know what good these little ones are doing here on the blade, but yeah. It needed a little work, but it wasn't too bad. 4 or 5 hours I had it ready to go. And luckily the guy I bought it off of, he got the scale working on it, because it actually had 2 weigh bars that were bad, and then the monitor needed a little work, and he sent the monitor off to get gone over. The Digistar monitor. It says J-Star on it, but I guess Digistar bought the J-Star out or whatever. And you just zero it, and I just add the weight in. That's how I think it does a lot more than that, but I just haven't done it. But well, I'll put this video up, and then I'll have another video mix and feed. So thanks for watching.